talking about RV shopping and buying, and we want to make sure that you have a great experience, whether you're buying from our dealership or any other ship. You need to know certain things about investing in an RV and making sure that you're not having pitfalls and financial disasters that happen from buying and trading too soon and rolling debt. And you know, it's just so many different factors that really people, they come into buying an RV and they're not really prepared to buy an RV. So I want to help you getting prepared for buying an RV. I want to make sure that you understand exactly what you're looking for when we're talking about that. So with that being said, I want to, all my adjustments are here and getting everything together. And hopefully this is going to be informative for you. And we'll go into the first part of what I'm talking about. So what unit should you buy? All right. So for me personally, when I'm buying anything, the first thing I want to do is I want to research reviews. I want to find out what other people are talking about, what other people's experiences are, because those experiences are powerful teachers' lessons are not soon forgotten. And one of the things that you're going to run into is that some people are going to have great experiences with a particular product. Some people are going to have a really bad experience with a particular product. You're probably going to look at the ones that have more of the positive experience than you are the negative experiences. So when we're talking about an RV, we want to talk about quality of build. Okay, so you want to look at multiple products in that sister product line. You want to look at things that are going to deliver you longevity value. Is it something that's considered a live-in fifth wheel, or is it something that's a weekend warrior type of unit? Depends on your use and exactly how you're going to use that unit as to what value you're going to get out of it. So when we're talking about that, we're talking about also reputation of the manufacturer, reputation of the build quality, and making sure that that build quality matches exactly what you're looking for in an RV, especially depending on if you're using it for full time and you're constantly traveling. You want a unit that travels well versus a unit that always has issues after it's traveled. You know, a lot of times these are rolling houses, so it's not like you're going to just immediately have not have an issue with these things. You're going to have an issue, but some of them mitigate a little bit easier than others. So we want to talk about that. And then you want to protect your initial investment. So let's talk about making the initial investment in an RV. First, you want to go camping or you want to go spend time with your family, and that's awesome. You want to get away from the resort. You want to do something completely different. And a lot of people are getting into that, and they also are using them for work or traveling because now they can travel for work. So it's really, really amazing that we can be as mobile as we are today because of the internet. People having jobs at campgrounds of all places and working from home, which is an amazing experience. But when you're making an initial investment, okay, the first thing that I have a lot of people do is they try to put zero money down. Not a good idea because right out of the gate, you're going to be behind the horse, okay? And when you're looking at putting money down, the banks are looking for about 10%, 10% of the value of what the unit is selling for. If you buy it at retail, if you buy it at wholesale or near wholesale, you know, you're going to have a specific value that those banks are looking for. And you're also going to make sure that you can get the bank to buy it. If you're trading, you've got some other things and factors involved there, like how much do you still owe? Well, let's talk about that because you bought too small and now you find out you need more room because your kids are bringing more kids to go camping with you. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. So we want to talk about that. When you buy a camper, initially you're going to have a right off the bat depreciation. Whether it's new or used, you're still going to have depreciation. That's just the way that the business and world goes with this. So, you know, anything new, you're going to have a substantial amount of depreciation that first year. And then it'll come down, and then it finally plateaus a little bit, settles down a little bit in about the third to fourth year for RVs. Typically, that's when we see a lot of people trying to trade in about third or fourth year. The problem is that if you have not made enough payments to match that depreciation as they're coming down, they're not meshing with each other, you're going to be in a bad position when it comes to trade. So, you know, you want to make sure that you get your payments either it's the value of your payment is low enough that you can double up on your payment so you can get ahead of the depreciation curve. That way in the 2 to 3 years, you're ready to go. If you're trying to trade within a year, I'm telling you, you're going to get killed in your trade. It's one of the hardest things in the world when I have to tell somebody that they should have bought right the first time, that they made a mistake, and really they got to hold off for another year to try to get to that position where everything balances back out, and they've got to make about $8,000 in payments or something to that effect to get them to where they need to be. They're not cheap. Okay, so that's one of the things we want to make sure that we're looking at. Okay, so when we're talking about how do we value a unit? Okay, well, there's two ways of valuing. One, you've got the NADA, which is the absolute gold standard when it comes to valuing a used unit or any type of unit. And then you have perceived value. Okay, let's talk about perceived value, because I think it's one that's kind of missed. If you have a pretty much a mainstream camper like a Forest River Rockwood, it's been around a while, everybody knows that particular product, they know somebody that has one, they can go in and see the quality of the unit. They know that it doesn't go in a shop often, and it doesn't have issues as much as other campers. Well, if campers have a historical amount of issues with them, okay, then their perceived value in the eyes of the dealership or even in the other people that are buying, it drops tremendously. So it depreciates even more. Okay, it's a perceived depreciation, not an actual depreciation. So when we look at it, I'm saying, okay, well, NADA may say that it's worth $20,000, but in reality, it may only be worth $10,000 because it just won't sell. It's not a sellable unit. Whereas if you have something that's, let's say it was an off-brand name like a McKinsey or Starcraft. Well, Starcraft is known. Evergreen. Evergreen was a good one. They came in business and they went out of business. The perceived value of those are going to be completely changed because now there's not a lot of people buying them. There's not a lot of people doing it. So the dealership is taking on the risk of buying it, or an individual is taking on the risk of buying a particular unit, and they are holding that depreciation debt. It's the perceived depreciation debt. Now, the NADA may have something that's also, it's booked at a high book value, but in the reality, the demand for that particular unit drives exactly what the price is. So in economics, if you ever take an economics course, or if you haven't, that's fine. But economics dictates that supply and demand. Well, if there's a high supply and low demand, it's not going to be valued very well. But if you have a high demand for a particular product and a low supply, that price goes up. Well, that's the other big thing that you run into with these particular units is the fact that you have perceived value, and is it in there? So here's a good guideline that I always try to tell people. If you're looking at a new unit, then let's look at, let's say the 2019s are out now. Okay, so let's look at RV Trader or RVT and some of the RV websites. Let's look and see what the average value of that unit is selling for in 2018, 2017, 2016, 2015. Okay, let's go back. Let's give it an average over 5 years and figure out what that depreciation is. So if it's dropping $10,000 a year, that average obviously is $10,000 a year depreciation over that 5-year period. I had way too many customers I've seen that have bought a unit and they thought it was a good unit and thought the value was there, and the bottom dropped out and they owe so much more. Not checking the perceived values of what those items are over those periods of years. Because that's what we do. We look at it. We look and see what NADA is showing. We also look and see what somebody in RV Trader's pricing went at to see, is this an in-demand unit, or is it something that we're going to take a risk of owning because we're going to have to own it for a period of time to try to sell it. So that's one of the things that you want to make sure that you take a look at. Another great thing that you need to do, don't just take the salesman's word for it. Okay, I know I'm in sales, but I'm a big operational sales believer. I go in the shop and I spend time in the shop. I want to learn what the unit is dealing with, what the unit's about. I want to know the insides and the outs of that unit. I want to know how many of these particular units come through the shop at a given time. If you see a unit that's constantly in the shop, it's constantly getting maintenance, there you go. You got a shop queen. You don't want a shop queen. You want something that you can use that's going to be ready to go when you're ready to go have fun, and you're going to mitigate how many maintenance issues that you're going to have while you're traveling. So that is a huge thing, is to ask those questions. If you're not asking those questions, I'm going to ask you to ask me those questions. A salesman worth his weight in salt is going to ask you to ask those questions, or they're going to try to find out what you're doing, how you're using it, and if it's the best value for your money. Because in the end, let's face it, this is an investment. You do get some benefits from it as far as taxes and other things, but you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself from down the line. When you guys are ready to what I call hermit crab camping, you go from one camper to another, to another, to another. You want to make sure that you're not behind that curve. It is the worst thing in the world to reinvest into debt. You're constantly behind the curve. You have not paid down what the value of that particular unit is, and such. You're rolling over debt. You're rolling over, rolling over, rolling over. About on the third time, you are not going to be able to roll anything over because the banks will not buy it. You're too far into debt at that point. So I hope this helps you with your shopping experience. Just wanted to make sure that we looked at all of that, understand what NADA is versus perceived value. Those are the big keys that you're going to run into, is understanding exactly what your unit's going to be worth 5 years from now. That's how you really shop. That's how you find the value. And that's what we wanted to talk about today. Thank you for tuning in. James, RV007. You can check us out on the web at rv007.com. I know that's kind of in reverse over here, but that's our website at RV Outlet USA. That's where I'm tuning in live from. And just wanted to reach out to you guys and help you with your buying experience. I hope this has been beneficial. If it has been, please subscribe, like, and share with your friends. And I hope you do this because I really want to educate buyers to be aware of the pitfalls and not get caught in a debt train. We don't want that debt train running off the cliff. We want to make sure that you guys get the most for your money and you have the most fun with your money. Thank you again for tuning in. James RV007. Y'all have a great evening.